Well, shifting our gaze now across the borders, we are looking at the explosive news statement from the Communist Party of Benin Republic this morning. They are condemning the foiled coup from Sunday, but they are also condemning how it was stopped. Now, they claim unverified reports that French forces and Nigerian military assets were used to keep President Talon in power. Now, a very big question lies on our lips. Was it a victory for the Benin army, that's the Benin army, or a rescue mission by the ECOWAS? Joining me this very beautiful afternoon, two gentlemen to the core. I have Mr. Philip.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Peter.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, so, I mean, these people are saying Nigeria and France should not have stepped in the way that they did. You know, they should have let them solve their issues. It's becoming a matter of sovereignty. Everybody now is sovereign. You know, since after the whole Trump situation, everybody, oh, we're a sovereign nation, we're a sovereign nation. You had a coup and you were saved out of it. Or did they have a coup? I need to take your thoughts.
You see, it is very interesting, you know, for the Benin opposition party, the Communist Party of the Benin, who is on the opposition, you know, to, you know, add their voice and to say their mind on what has happened in their country. You see, what they are saying and what actually happened was eternal affair of the Benin Republic. Benin is a federal republic. It's a sovereign nation. You know, a coup is a eternal affair. It had nothing to do with, you know, international communities. Now, there was a coup. The community has said that what led to the coup? That what led to the coup is bad governance, which is cut across the entire African sub-region. They are saying they tend to have democracy that is not democracy, that is becoming authoritarian government. You know, that the constitution they have is more like a monarchical constitution, and that it will not fly, that it is the kind of governance that pushed the people to organize the coup. And that this coup, whether an external force has come to foil it or not, if the government continue in the way they are, there will be coup some other day that they cannot, you know, foil. What they are saying in essence is that you should allow the Beninense to handle their internal
Affairs by themselves,
so that the action of the French and Nigerian government amount to, you know, infringing on their sovereign right, and you can't beat them for that. You can't beat them for that because you said it's alleging. It's all over the internet that the Nigerian Air Force, you know, said with precision they stop the coup, and it's also on the internet that the president of France reached out to the Nigerian government to assist. And it's also on record that there are French troops already in Benin. Doing what? And so that's why the man said that, look.
How did they get into Benin in the first place?
That's why the communists are saying that, look, Benin is more like a colony of France. They are no longer, you know, an independent nation. If they cannot be allowed to, you know, handle their own affairs
by themselves.
Yes.
I'm going to come to you, Peter. We know that the ECOWAS has taken a very hard stance against coups recently. Does an existing protocol allow President Tinubu to order military intervention inside Benin without long parliamentary approval, a long, you know, process of parliament, or just simply because Talon asked for help?
Talon asking for help is welcome. But there's a procedure and a process to grant that help. In Nigeria, we disregard the written down procedure of doing things. Nigeria was not in immediate danger. There is no way that coup would have affected our lives in Nigeria. So we getting involved without parliamentary approval is wrong. It's in a sane society, is an impeachable offense. Our president, yes, was the counterpart in Benin, requested for help. The least should have done is to sought the approval of the parliament. You don't put Nigeria, you don't get Nigeria into a war. Benin has some internal issues that they need to resolve. We have our own internal issues that will not be resolved. And we went ahead and we went ahead to grant his request. But that is not the issue. The issue that the Communist Party in Benin, you said something that is germane that people are not looking at. And I want to put this agenda. Why is that in every other West African countries that had coup, we see the citizens come down to celebrate? If democracy has worked, if those saddled with the responsibility of governing those nations has done well, why will the citizenry celebrate coups? If those that were elected into offices has upheld and uphold the tenets of democracy, why will people celebrate it? He simply said that this government has brought this upon itself. You have reduced governance to dictatorship. You have almost suspended the constitution. There's no more freedom of speech. You have introduced something that is alien to them, monarchical democracy. Now, people have no right to contest, aspire for that offices. You have shaken political space. So that's what's led to it. People have seen there is no hope here. There is no democracy here. Since there's no democracy, let me take over.
Let's just hand over to the military. But then now.
So before you ask your question, you did ask whether the act of President Bola Tinubu was right or is within the confine of the law. Yes. You also said that the Benin president requested for help. I take your mind back to the eras of Olusegun Obasanjo when he was the president of Nigeria. At that time, there was a coup in Satome Principe. And you know what Obasanjo did? He got himself into a private jet and flew to Satome and resolved the issue. And the coup was resolved. The coup was already successful. He didn't deploy our military might to go and restore peace there. He went using democratical tenet, using what do you call it, negotiative skill as a president, as a statesman, to turn the table around. Here is Benin Republic. They speak, a lot of Benin people speaks Yoruba. The president is a Yoruba man. If he had wanted to help the sitting president without breaching our own law, what he need to do is to take cue for what Obasanjo did during his time, to take a leap to Benin Republic and call all warring factions together and discuss it over with them. But he never did that. He felt he could exercise a military might over Benin. Is he a conquering master? What is he trying to show? And by so doing, he has breached the law of the land. Even though we had, you ask the question, why is it that, he said that, why is it that when there's coup, people celebrated it? Because the people are being gagged. For instance, in this country, we are being weaponized with poverty, and everything about this country is politics. So the fear, what I could deduce from what has happened is this. Mr. President is afraid that if Niger is being ruled by military men, Mali is military, and Benin that is within us is also a military, there's every tendency that such thing could creep into Nigeria. So what to do is to help stabilize whatever bad governance is happening in Benin Republic. Other than that, I don't see any reason why he should deploy military might to forestall the coup.
Another issue I had with this is what the Communist Party spokesman said. It's Nigeria get involved because France president, involved. They asked Nigeria to get involved. A foreign nation almost instructing us to go into a war that doesn't.
Yeah, but I mean, these are allegations. Are we sure that it's true? These are rumors.
That's why I mentioned him, the communist, and so the spokesperson. So if that is proven, it is, we didn't go on a call. We didn't go because we want to go.
Now, you're leading me to the question I was going to ask you. At this dire moment for Nigeria, where we're battling our own in-house insecurity, and we know that the police is not even equipped enough to take care of it, so we need military help from our own military to fight these insurgents. Is Nigeria going ahead to actively act like the policeman of West Africa right now, like we used to do in the early 90s, in the late 90s, leading into the early 2000s? Is this the right time for this, or should we focus on internal security?
This has exposed this government to something they are aware they went to. People talk about Nigerian government being complicit in what's happening. What they did have shown they are actually complicit. If our Air Force could go and have that precision strike in Benin? How come our bandits still have a Sambisa forest to themselves? How come these hotspots
are still they are still active?
Who have an air force that could do that? That shows this Nigerian government, just shows that we've been playing lip service to insecurity in Nigeria. That means that we have never taken it serious. It's all about politics. That means the Nigerian army is capable of any of this. That means that
to make matter worse for them is that the American delegations that are here for fact finding, they are still with us. That Nigeria could take this bold step to foster. It shows clearly that Nigeria is highly involved in this security that is ravaging Nigeria itself. That the Nigerian government is involved in this security. It's not as if they couldn't have handled it themselves. What it amount to is that Nigerian government is involved in the so-called Christian genocide that America is establishing. It's also true that Nigeria is making herself a breeding ground for terrorists, a terrorist. So, and this will help the America to take a better and a proper decision on what to do about the breeding ground Nigeria has turned itself to.
So now we've been quoting the Communist Party of Benin heavily in this conversation, but realistically, how much weight do they carry in Benin Republic? Are they a fringe voice? Are they just the angry side because this is not favoring them? Do they speak for the silent majority, or is this just a case of, we're tired of what this man has been doing and we are the opposition, so we're going to jump on it and make as much trouble as we can?
I think what's happening in Nigeria is probably what's happening in Benin, where other opposition parties are not allowed to strive. They're coming from that position, that if I've allowed a democracy to blossom, this thing wouldn't have happened. If I've allowed the rule of law to take its course, people would have been happy. If I've allowed democracy is not about alternative, people's choice. If I have allowed people to decide, election is coming in Benin, I think next year, but they've seen the handwriting. That this is just camouflage. It's not election that's coming. But if they have believed that there will be free and fair election, they condemn the coup, but they still went ahead to say some things. That this could happen because there is no freedom of anything in Benin. Everything in Benin is that the constitution in Benin is almost suspended. It's dictatorship that is happening in Benin. And he said something that is key. How come a president of Benin allowed France to have their soldiers on ground?
On ground, because I know that when we had the situation with Nigeria, help me out here, when Trump, mentioned, there was an announcement that we would want to bring boots on ground because you cannot just invade another nation. That's why we have laws governing nations. How did the boots of France get their souls on the soil of Benin?
That is why the communists are telling you that the Benin, as it is today, is a colony of France, that is no longer a sovereign nation. Because if we're to be a sovereign nation, the question you are asking will be begging for an answer. If they were to be a sovereign nation, the alleged statement by the communists to say that Macron actually called for help from Nigeria to assist the France military that is on ground, the boot that's on ground, because they were on ground quite all right, fine, but the army still went ahead and struck and was successful. When Macron found out that from the statement of the communists that his men cannot do it all alone, they had to call for help from Nigeria to send their and which they did. Whether we are saying that it's an alleged thing or not, was Nigeria Air Force sent there? Do they carry out an action? Did action help the coup to fail? If these questions are answered in the affirmative, then you cannot say wholeheartedly that these are allegations. They are fact, pointing to the fact that this thing happened. That's why the man is telling you that you ask the question, why? They're already there. Because they guide the man on how to do. You see, this is a new colonization in Africa.
Absolutely.
This what is happening now is fresh balkanization of African soil, because everybody is interested in Africa. China is interested, America is interested, France is interested, everybody is interested. Well, what is going on in Africa? Because come to think of it, what are the why we Americans so concerned with their base in Niger Republic.
Yeah.
Is it that it's only in Africa that they can establish their base? You see, I am not speaking for anybody. The Western world, see, there's something they are saying in Africa that we Africans are not seeing. And it's unfortunate that our leader is playing to their hands.
Well, we're going to leave it here today. But here's what I'm going to say to you. If your neighbor's house is on fire and you break down the door to put the fire out, does that make you a hero or an intruder? These are the questions, these are the issues. We would continue to analyze them and bring them to bear. Continue the conversations in the comments and have a very beautiful day.